So, which is the main difference between studying music theory at the university and studying musical composition? Very important question. I came to this question today while talking to a student here of the conservatory. So he's a composer and he was concerned about some professional issues, as always. And I perceived that it is amazingly common that the students, they don't have any idea about the degree or the course they are going to. They have a vague idea, and many times I think they have a wrong expectation or a wrong idea. One of the most important difference between music theory and composition, a bachelor in music theory and a bachelor in music composition, is the entrance exam. This is the most important difference that I can recognize that is useful for you to know. Perhaps there are other important difference if you compare the curriculums or different situations in different universities and things like this. So the comparison in this case is way harder, and so this needs scientific statistic study. But in my direct observation, let's say my direct philosophical observation, the most important difference is the entrance exam. This has a very pragmatic consequence for you as a composer, and the difference is that the entrance exam in music theory is very, very, very clear. If you think about it very well, it is an objective exam with a very clear goal, and the goal is to show that you can learn very concrete, traditional, objective musical techniques. So it is very, you can tell in a very precise manner what are you supposed to do. So you are supposed to do counterpoint without a big problem. Okay, that you show that you understand what is going on in a basic level, that things have coherence from the point of view of the handicraft. So, but I am speaking about the best universities, okay, because I am concerned about the best, because even the best they are already in crisis. So maybe what is the entrance exam at Mozarteum or here in Vienna, MOOC or MDV, maybe this is the final exam in other university, or the contrary. I believe that perhaps there are some hard work, good people there in Brazil, in some good university, that are working hard in music theory, so it can be that the entrance exam there is similar to the final exam for some students in Mozarteum. But I want to believe, actually it's a little bit harder. And the reason is very simple. At least these universities that I know better, so the Mozarteum and the MTV, but perhaps universities like Royal College of Music, Paris Conservatory, so Berkeley. The problem or the thing is that they have good money to invest in the teachers. So they invest more hours, more paid hours for the teacher. So when I studied orchestration, so in the MTV, so there is the class orchestration, but there is also the private lesson. So you have you receive the content, so you are a passive receiver in the lesson, but you have another lesson, so individual, where you practice this individually with the teacher. It's a very powerful thing. The only thing better than this is what I offer, so private lessons. And there is a very logical reason for this, because if you can pay private lessons, so all the disciplines that are being learned or taught, the teacher can centralize and unite them in your personality, based on the personality and taste of the teacher, that comes in an unity. And this unity is, I suppose, recognized by you in the moment that you chose this teacher, probably based on his music. And I hope that your composition teacher also composed music. So this is the logic. So you hear my music, and then if you are a kind person to enjoy my music, and if you think that there you have something that you can, that is valuable and that is somehow far away from what you experience in music or can do, then you recognize this as an authority, and then you see this teacher is legitimate, this personality is probably legitimate to teach me, so I will trust this teacher, and with this trust, the teacher will offer his musical view to you according to many musical disciplines. Of course, this is the only con is the financial issue, because of course, if you want to study with a teacher in a private manner, this is more expensive than studying with a composer in a public university. But when it comes to private lessons versus a private university, then it is like this. Then we have to skills, you have to decide, okay? Because in some cases it can be way more expensive at the university, but in other cases the teacher is more expensive. It's a waste of time. So you have to see how things are going. But in the theory, with the private teachers, in my opinion, of course, works better, and many composers they learn like this, not at the university. So now, music theory has this advantage of offering a very clear exam. Musical composition, in other hand, it can be more or less clear in some universities and departments that are more conservative. It can be very similar to music theory, but the typical entrance exam, at least at Mozarteum, as I know and knew very well, is very different, and it is similar here in the Music University of Vienna. The situation here is a more challenging situation than music theory. Not because you will need some impossible skill. Many times, by the way, the students of composition are way less skilled than the music theory. So I mean, in matter of musical knowledge and techniques of the common practice era. On the other hand, I saw that the composers, the students of the composition degree, many of them they have above average ear training, or above average score reading, or above average ability to fake being Pierre Boulez and John Cage. So there's also this category. So they don't hear what they write, they can't play what they write, but they write very beautifully and with all these sexy musical techniques of the musical avant-garde. So because many teachers also, I would say, it looks that they love more the score than the sound. You go to the entrance exam, then they look at this. Warum this dominant septa corda? So then they ask you why this dominant seventh chord there. So you started like a atonal 12-tone technique, and then so they only see your score, they don't hear. Not all the teachers, but what I mean, this can happen. This can happen because you can't get inside the mind of the teacher to be sure that he is really reproducing the music that you composed in his head correctly, principally when it comes to a very unconventional music. And this is the point of the entrance exam in musical composition here, the typical exam in Austria. They want something that is not conventional. Unless you are lucky and you get a more conservative department, perhaps in the private university here, I can't tell, but at least at the Mozarteum, the idea is that you show yourself as someone capable of developing an unconventional musical idiom. What I find awesome. In some sense, you have to do this as a composer. I mean, even as a Hollywood film composer. So Jerry Goldsmith was also tired of cliche. So Ennio Morricone, these people were always somehow some type of progressives. Now the problem is there is no common ground or common criteria to know when do you fulfill this criteria, this requirement. Most of the times the students come anyway with pieces that are anyway a copy of some avant-garde composer. So it's still very similar, and even the students that finish the course, they are very similar to each other and very similar to the teacher, and the teacher is very similar to other composers with some exceptions. So there was the Tristan Morel that I admired a lot in Mozarteum, and the Adriana Holtzky. I heard very good things of these two composers. Okay. Now so there was the Fable, the Offenbauer. Then I would say that I would say actually it is conventional music. It's the conventional music of our last 30 years in Austria. So they are not writing unconventional music or open a new world. Okay, I think me using Logic Pro with the organ that I record in the church, I think I am more unconventional than a trio or piano music that still uses the keys of the piano, or that use the advanced techniques, but nothing that John Cage didn't do. So what is unconventional about this? But to put to go here to the church and record it, and then come back to Logic Pro and work with the amplifier and develop a poetic idea about this. So I find this less conventional. So fun fact, me not trying to be shocking, in a very technical description, I would consider myself in some piece not so conventional, but I don't find this special or awesome. I don't find that this gives a status of having composed a better piece of music. Okay, at least in my example. So there are pieces that I composed that they are absolutely original and not conventional, but I would not say they are the most beautiful or even the most interesting that I want to hear again. So this is the thing in the entrance exam of musical composition. The second thing is also a kind of a legitimate request, but a hard one. If I were in the jury for this type of exam, considering the history of music, the situation of music today, I want a student that is able to develop a very sophisticated, rich concept of what musical composition is or can be. Do you understand? So you are in some sense a philosopher of music that express your thoughts with notes. Okay, this is how I would approach it. So I would take these students, and they are very few, but it's a legitimate criteria and way of approaching this. So at least in the description of some entrance exams, you can already sense it. Okay. And also when I applied for jobs, so to teach, there is always a clear statement that shows how important is to develop a clear or deep, polished idea about music and musical composition that is very aware of where we are today as musical composers. So to know the history of music is an unconditional. Okay, and when I was studying, still, so there was this friend who, by the way, I think he's also a professor of composition now. So he was very clear about the necessity of understanding the history of music. It's very interesting because even when I was a student and even studying history of music, we have this class. It it was there. It was in our conversations, also with teacher of composition or something like this. But there was not a clear statement like you have to figure this out. However, in the seminars of music theory, what I had was still very much in this direction. It was always a kind of commentary to the whole history of music, or the history of music from Palestrina on until our days. It was always like an attempt to reevaluate, to judge, to understand, to compare moments, styles, and practices of music as we see in the discipline history of music. But also beyond the discipline history of music, I mean the history of music as such is the material that the contemporary composer has to think about today when he wants to be an avant-garde composer, when he wants to be an unconventional composer, when he wants to be a composer that wants to move things forward. Okay, this is a condition for him. But not only for this type of composer, for the progressist composer. Also for let's put like this, moderate conservative composer or moderate progressist composer. What I would my type of composer, so me. So this type of thing, it is still a condition. So that you understand which is your placement in the history of music. When you do even whatever you do, that you understand which is the placement of this in the contemporary. The difference is that for the entrance exam in music theory, it doesn't matter. And also it doesn't matter in the entrance exam how well you can approach contemporary music and the problem of analyzing contemporary music. This problem I got only when I was studying music theory. So that you take a piece of Wolfgang Rihm, so there is no theory yet for this, and then we have to develop an approach to understand this music. Okay. And I made my teacher crazy because I still try to analyze atonal music from the point of view of tonal music. He never understood this. But I am still there because the idea was to have a clear reference of how far the atonal music was from the practice of the late tonal music. So the music of Tristan and Isolde, Guhelida, Salome, so late Romanticism. Um, so the conclusion is that it is way easier to prepare for music theory than for music composition. This doesn't mean that music composition requires more skill. It means that it requires more luck or more the vitamin R relationship. So something like they want to work with you, they want to teach you, you want to work with them, and everything works good. Perhaps the teacher was your neighbor since a long, long time. You compose good, not perfect, but you can do. So, so he wants to teach you for 6 semesters. Maybe you have a problem in many areas of music, and there was another guy who is a prodigy and absolute ear. But this guy made the mistake of composing something like or to not adjust the organ. Hey, back. I have to program the cancellation of all registers. Yes. So I can't take this. So this would be a huge mistake. So even if you are a very talented composer, they will hear this and they will say about the system Stilkopie. Eine Stilkopie ist keine Komposition. So they would say that this is not a composition. Straight in your face. So this is a copy of a style. Complicated. So you see that the entrance exam in composition is harder not because of skill but because of the very way this game works, the structure, the rules. The rules are not so clear. With music theory, I see that the rules are a little bit, they are more clear. You understand? Modulate to the major chromatic median. the correct recitation. Okay, my leading here was not so good, but this is a very objective task. So C major, task. This is one possibility using A minor. So, very objective tests. Imitate, but written. Yeah? So, imitate this. So, fugue exposition. I'm totally out of style now. So this is the idea. Objective tasks with objective skills, and I find this way more interesting for you as a composer. So I was talking to this student, and as always, so you are kind of forced to give some advice, but I can't tell exactly what he has to do, but I can tell what I would do and what is the reality out there, so to say, and what I see in a very evident way. So this is a very personal but philosophical observation, let's say. It's also not a study of statistics. And in this perspective, as I see things today, I see the study in music theory in a way better light, professionally. Okay, so you have a better chance to pass this exam, and this is the very important difference between these two studies. This aspect of the entrance exam will stay there while you are studying. Okay, so this very objective aspect, and I think this gives you more peace of mind, or not, because if you are like a cover that don't take the challenge, some types of studies in composition are easier. So if the study goes in such a way that music theory is not important, so composing a fugue or harmonizing properly, and you are just allowed to compose whatever, like, okay, composition this semester, check, next semester, check, and this like very open, like just a space for the creativity, then I would say that you don't learn so much in this study, and this will have a reflex in your professional qualification later. And now here comes another thing. The students who are rich, let's say very clear and straightforward like this, or that are very well connected. For example, the uncle is the director of the theater or something like this. The father is the conductor of another orchestra. Understand? For these people, so it works always very well. But if you are in the category of the struggling class, so you still have to work on McDonald's sometimes, then I would again suggest the study in music theory, because what you want above anything is at least to have a skill. Okay. The skill is the most substantial part. Even if you don't have the diploma, even if you say, I don't want this anymore, if you go away with the skill, then you have something. So I think this is one of the most important things that I have to say here. I spoke a lot. I could keep talking, but some people will even complain if I am too long, and this discussion will never end. So here's some food for thought regarding your musical education. Other videos in this topic you find in the playlist somewhere on Patreon or YouTube. I don't know if this video goes to the Patreon or YouTube. It depends on my mood. And this is just one aspect of the situation. So I speak also a lot about self-taught, so self-education. And I speak also a lot about private lessons and other topics that help you find yourself in this chaos called today. See you later.